Hi Chuchulians! Chuchu Jelly and Breath of the Wild are very interesting materials that can do so much. They even help Lionels jump. Today we'll learn exactly what they're used for, some interesting things about them, and the best places to farm them, including some infinite farming locations. If you don't know me, I'm Nico and I like collecting everything in Zelda games. If you need help finding or doing anything, I hope you consider subscribing or at least checking out the channel. First, for their uses, let's talk cooking. They are monster parts, so they're needed when cooking critters. All they do for elixirs is add time. Each normal Chuchu jelly cooked adds 1 minute and 10 seconds to an elixir, and each elemental Chuchu jelly adds 1 minute and 50 seconds to an elixir. You do need them to upgrade some gear. Each piece of the soldier's gear needs 5 normal Chuchu jellies for their first upgrade. Each piece of the Snowquill gear needs 3 red Chuchu jellies for their first upgrade and 5 for their second. Each piece of the Desert Voe gear needs 3 white Chuchu jellies for their first upgrade and 5 for their second too. And each piece of the Verva gear needs 3 yellow Chuchis for their first upgrade and 5 for their second. Now let's talk some interesting uses for them. Normal Chuchu jellies are water, so you can shoot it with shock arrows to create electric orbs. Or you can do the same to wet enemies and shoot them for electric orbs that'll do 40 damage. You can use it to get wet for 30 seconds, and this allows Link to manage the desert heat and also the Death Mountain heat. If you like random facts like this, I do have a video giving 145 tips, tricks, and facts. Check the card in the corner and the link in the description. For the Elemental Chuchus, when they are hit, they release their respective elements. So when a red Chuchu jelly is hit, it explodes with fire. You can use it to light wood, cooking pots, ice, vines, and burn enemies. If an enemy is on something on fire like grass, they will receive 30 damage per second. When the white Chuchu is hit, it releases ice, so you can use it for freezing, probably enemies. Enemies that are hit when frozen will receive 3 times the damage. You could also use it to freeze some food. Frozen food will give Link heat resistance. And when the yellow Chuchu jelly is hit, it releases electricity. Enemies hit with shock will drop their weapons. And one random thing you can use normal Chuchu jellies for is to jump. If you do this right, you can jump and go into bullet time. I honestly don't know exactly how I did this, but if not, you can also try shield block reset. You can check the card in the corner or the link in the description for my video explaining how to do that. And you can do the same thing to make Lionels jump. There's not much use, but it's funny. Before I mention locations to farm them, it's important to mention that you can't change any of the Chuchus to one other elemental one. This is in case you just want to change Chuchus to another. The Chuchu needs to be exposed to whichever element you want to change it to. But be careful not to directly hit the jelly or it will just burst. But you cannot change them into normal ones. For some tricks, if you want red Chuchu jellies, you can drop them in Death Mountain and wait a few seconds. You can also drop them by a fire. You can use the fire rod or just swing a fire weapon over it. If you want white Chuchus, you can use an ice rod or an ice weapon. That's all I can think of. If you want yellow Chuchu jellies, you can use lightning rod or lightning weapon. You can use the shock trap also. I have a video explaining how to do shock traps if you need it. You can check the card in the corner or the link in the description. Also, all the Gerudo Desert Shrines deal with electricity if you want to use that. Now for the locations. Again, keep in mind the elemental ones you can get just by changing them. If you can't change any to normal ones, there aren't many great places to farm a lot at once. But they do pop up in random places, so you may naturally collect them. There is a place to farm an infinite amount, but first let's talk about one decent location. And that is in the forest just east of the Great Plateau. You can find about 10 Chuchus in this area, and this is a decent place to farm some moblins. Now for the place to get an infinite amount is at the Korok Forest. So go to the east side of the Korok Forest and speak to the Korok for the Test of Wood challenge. The Korok will give you some gear and you have to make it to the end. If you drop or lose any of the gear, you lose. So to get infinite Chuchu jellies, having speed will help, but start the challenge then run ahead. You'll see 4 Chuchus. Then unequip, drop, or throw any of the weapons and you'll lose. Then you can do this again. Keep in mind, if you already have any of these weapons in your inventory, you won't borrow them from the Korok. You'll use the ones that you have. So if you're collected like me, you want to make sure you don't use the one you're keeping or else you'll damage it. Or don't accidentally throw the sword. Now for red Chuchu jellies, they're all basically on Death Mountain. If you go to the tower, going down the cliffs by the tower, there are a total of 30 Chuchus, and being fireproofed will help. And if you're decent at wind bombing, or you're willing to make the trip, going east from the tower there's a little cave and there's 15 Chuchus there. There are more to the north of Death Mountain, but it'll take some work to get there from their closest shrines. Or you can just stand on Death Mountain or a campfire and drop Chuchu jellies until they turn red. For white Chuchu jelly, there's one good place to get a good number of them, and that's at the very left shrine in the Gerudo Highlands. Go to the Skull Cave north for 5 Chuchus, then go east for 6 more. You can always change the Chuchus that you have into white ones with a blizzard rod. For yellow Chuchu jellies, go to the Wasteland Tower. You'll get lots of yellow Chuchu jellies and decent place to farm some moblins. Jump north and you'll see 2 Chuchus and a moblin. There's more to the west and a small camp with 3 moblins and more Chuchus. Then head west under the bridge for a hill of 13 Chuchus. Just be careful they don't roll away. And the place that allows you to get an infinite amount of Chuchu jellies, but also some bokoblin parts if you want them. Go to the top west side of Eventide Island and you'll find 3 bokoblins and 3 electric Chuchus. After you defeat them, you can travel here again and the enemies will respawn. If you have the DLC's travel medallion, you can just leave it here and keep traveling here. And keep doing this until you get as much as you want. Your other option is, if you don't have that DLC, is to save and reload. You can use this to get an infinite amount of any elemental Chuchu jellies by just changing them. While you're here on Eventide, you can also use this trick to get an infinite amount of arrows. However, there is another way to get an infinite amount of arrows, and that's easier, and it's in this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. If you want more Zelda content, I hope you consider subscribing or at least checking out the channel. See you next time!